Welcome to part 2 of my eyeshadow ranking, where I am going to rank over 140 different eyeshadow palettes. I realized mid-filming for the part 1 that I forgot to mention another palette that I exclude in this ranking because I made this myself and it would just not be fair. And that's my Cleonad collection. Why did I forget about this? These are only single shadows, and I used to have a pre-made Cleonad palette, but that's in here because I wanted to have them all in one palette. And if I had to rank this, everything would be a 10 out of 10. Excitement, color story, and quality, and that's just not fair. But now let's go back to the ranking, and we ended part 1 yesterday at number 71, so now we're tackling in the top 70, and we're starting with the Oden's Eye Sea Talk palette. This is the collab between Oden's Eye and Laura May Beauty. I like this much more than the Flora story. There was a third one, I decluttered that, so that says it all. Beautiful color story. I love neutral blue and the pop of chartreuse and pink. Really good. But again, same here. Quality in this collab was different than their normal square palettes. I bet money on this. Like, this is different. It is. At number 69, again a Mothership, and this is Mothership 2 Sublime. Yeah, this is the Sublime one. I just had to look. I mean, come on. If the mattes in this one weren't so bad, I would have ranked this much higher. But again, what I just said for the Mothership one, this is why we love Pat McGrath. This is why we all fell for it. Look at this quad over here. These 4 special shades are everything I want. This shifts from blue to like gray to gunmetal to green. Beautiful. I love them all, but the mattes are so bad I can't justify ranking this higher. At number 68, another Gloss Gods entry. This is the Dancing in the Sky palette, and to be honest, I don't really understand why this is called Dancing in the Sky, because this is a monochromatic green all shimmer palette. And these here, this row, I don't know how much the camera picks this up, but they do shift a bit like pinkish. I love it. I think this is a wonderful palette, but since it's just an all shimmer palette, I cannot rank it that high because it's a companion palette. And you might wonder then, because in my top 3 there is also a companion palette, but there are reasons why this is ranked so high. At number 67, we have one of the Halloween palettes from Oden's Eye this year. This is the Trick or Treat palette. And this is like the bright, intense version of Merry Christmas. I know this sounds super weird. They're not similar at all, but it's like you took Merry Christmas and then you turned up the brightness of everything and you turned up the color intensity. I think this is a beautiful palette. It is very Angelica Nyquist-like. Let me just say that. It's loud, it's bright, it's bold. You have to like it. I do like it though. At number 66, we have another of the Pat McGrath Quints from this year's holiday collection, and this is the Lunar Nightshade one. I think especially these 3 here are wonderful. They're very pretty metallic shades. The formula of the metallics in these in general is really good. I don't understand the color story. That's why it's ranked so low, because I think this should have been either a cool tone brown or go with the flow and give us a muted blue. At 65, another Pat McGrath. This is Original Divine Rose, aka Mothership 7. And do you know what the best about this palette is? It's this shade. This is Astral Solstice. And I'm so happy that this shade is not only in Mothership 7, it's also in Mothership 6. This is the best special shade from Pat McGrath that was ever done. I love it, how it sparkles. It's absolutely stunning. The rest of the palette is just a mediocre, good, pinkish brown palette. Nothing bad to say about it. You won't believe it, but a neutral palette from a brand ranks higher as a shimmer palette with beautiful shifts. Talking again about Gloss Gods this time, this is the new Neutrals palette. And oh boy, This is the most boring neutral mattes that I've ever seen. Don't get me wrong, it's not my vibe, but the shimmers in here, the shimmers make this special. Look at this, what's it called? The Kind of Neutral shade. Oh my god, this is like Danessa Myricks Infinite Chrome Flakes. This is texture, and I love texture in eye looks. At number 63, we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Nouveau palette. It is a beautiful green muted neutral color story, but what throws me off the most, and what is the reason that this is ranked lower than the other Anastasia Beverly Hills ones, is Wisteria. I'm sorry, but this palette, not the palette, the shade confuses me. I stand by the fact, or like by my imagination, that when they designed this palette, there was this one guy called Paul be like, but you promised that we can put a dusty lilac in a palette, and everybody was like, okay, put it wherever you want, and that's how Wisteria just found its way into the palette. I think this is just so misplaced in here. At number 62, we have another Cosmic Brushes palette. This is the Serenity palette, and this is much more my vibe than Muse. Quality-wise, they are not better than the other one. They're both really good. I just like the color story of this more. Number 61 is a massive palette. How many things does it have? How many pans? 9 times 5, 45 pans. This is the Be Perfect Carnival 4 massive palette. But do you know what this is? This is the definition of a fall palette. If I was not doing this and so excited about new makeup and I was looking for a fall palette, this is what I would buy and this is what I would use for the rest of my life. Everything is just stunning in here. It's just a palette I'm not drawn to all year round. At number 60, another Nomad. This is the Whistler Snow Lodge palette. Beautiful, cool toned winter color story. You will see this again when I do my video for the best winter palettes. And spoiler alert, this is part of it because it is a pretty winter palette. I love the little pops of warmth in here so that it's not only ice and blue, and with the gold you can really balance your looks out. At number 59 we have the other Dior Backstage palette, and this is the Burgundy Neutrals. So much better than Silver Essentials, I can't even. This comes also with a primer here on top. I didn't need that primer, but to be honest, it's a good primer. It does prime your eyes and it helps the shadows stay on longer. In here you have mostly matte. Some of them are labeled as satin, but I have to strongly disagree. They're not satin. So all you have basically for the shimmer is up here, and this is a glitter top coat, and this is one of the best glitter top coats ever. At number 58 we have Blend Bunny Lure. I think this came out this year in a collection with this and a quad. And this is such a beautiful color story, beautiful quality. The shimmers much different from the other palettes that I already talked about. But the critique that I have here is, I know the Lure is kind of sea inspired, but do you know what I see here? Not water, not, I don't know, like a pond and sea creatures. I see aurora lights, northern lights. This is what I see. And this is why I love this palette so much, why this ranked so much higher than other Blend Bunny Cosmetics palettes. But there are others that are even better than this. At number 57, a palette I never thought I liked that much, but the Huda Beauty Matte Obsessions Cool is such a delightful 9-pan palette. If you love rosy looks, let's just say that, rosy looks, and then you have some single like glitters, or you don't even have to pull in shimmers. You can use matte, you can use matte looks. You can do matte looks with this like nobody's business. Absolutely stunning quality. I even enjoy the 2 creams in here. I think this is such a nice palette, and although the shades look redundant, like for example this and this look redundant, this and this look redundant, this and this look redundant. Makes sense. If you think now, oh, this looks like nothing. They make sense on the eyes. I don't know what exactly this is. It's like this is the tiny bit of change in the hue that I needed to get a better blend. A neutral palette that ranks that high has to be something special. The Tom Ford Lumiere d'Hiver is the winter palette of their this year's collection. Don't expect anything special with this palette. I know this might sound a bit weird. Do not expect like beautiful neutral looks. Do not expect variations of neutrals. This is an everyday quad. If I sleep in, which I actually did a couple of times the past weeks, this is the palette that I can probably put on with my eyes still closed in the bathroom sitting on the toilet. Beautiful quality. These two shimmers are so intense. They do remind me a lot of the Makeup by Mario one from the Ethereal Eyes palette, but they're a tad bit thicker. At number 55, who would have thought that this could happen? The Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge. This completely healed the wounds that Empowered made and that left in my heart, but this palette, stunning. But this is not a cool toned palette. This is a very neutral toned palette. This is not cool. It's neutral, but I like it a lot. I think the choice of shades in here is the absolute banger, and I said it in my review about this palette. There is something about Huda Beauty and shades like this, with this purple going on. They can formulate these shades the best. At number 54, we have another Mothership, and this is Mothership 9 Utopian Dream. This, I feel like, is not the favorite palette of a lot of people, but I personally think it's pretty. The only critique that I have is a bit about the color story, because I feel like these intense purples do not really match with the mattes, because if this would have been a purple, a cool toned purple in the mid-range, this could be the best Mothership ever. On 53, another Pat McGrath palette is coming, and this is also a quint from this year's holiday. And this is the last quint, I think, because this was my favorite. This is the Bordeaux Bliss. This has not a single matte in it, which doesn't bother me, but oh boy, is this a beautiful quint. It's not a quad, it's a quint. Delicious shades. I love this one. This is a black with red sparkle that shifts gold. Oh, absolutely stunning. Everything in this palette is beautiful. But it's a quint. It's nothing I gravitate a lot to, and you need to pull on something else. Gloss Gods at number 52 with the Look for Rainbows palette. Another palette where I have hit pan on a shade. To be honest, it is not that hard to hit pan on Gloss Gods palettes because the formulation is very, very soft. They do spread very easy, and this was a pan after 2 uses. So what do you think? But this has everything you want. You have a row of blues, you have kind of a mixed row with this nice pink, then you have a bit of a purple going on, then you have 2 more like transparent toppers, and then these 2 in general are those smooth velvet duochromes. Absolutely stunning. The Look for Rainbows palette is such a banging palette, and I cannot recommend this enough. A Blend Bunny Cosmetics palette that also, besides the Sickly Sweet one, broke the internet because how did she dare to mix up the columns? The Sugar and Grunge palette, first of all, is right up my alley, and then she had the audacity to mix up the row of shimmers. I love everything about this palette. This is the best big Blend Bunny palette. Beautiful. I love every single column in here. Everything makes sense, everything is pretty, everything is perfect with this palette. Why is it not top 1? Oh, you will see. You have to wait. Please be patient. Don't scroll. Watch the whole video. Don't be rude. That would be very rude. Top 50 palettes. We'll start with Pat McGrath again. And this is Mothership 5 Bronze Seduction. Oh boy, is this a beautiful palette. This shade here, this coppery one, this is Rose Gold 005. In combination with this Blitz Flame, I could die in that makeup look. So pretty, so fucking awesome. At number 59 is the Odin's Eye Hey Reindeer palette. This is from this year's Christmas collection. It's a very, very beautiful, muted winter vibe. I don't think this is a Christmas palette. I'm honest with you. I think this is a nice winter palette. And the vibe that I get is here like a cold night. You come home and there's still a little bit of snow left. This is a vibe I get like in February. I know this is oddly specific, but you know, end of winter. This is what I see here. I think it's beautiful. I don't think these are better than last year's, just saying. At number 48, we have the original Kashmiri palette, and this, oh boy. This is the best shimmer matte mix palette from Viseart that exists. Such a pretty color story. Everything in here makes sense. The perfect amount of depth and light, the perfect balance between everything. I just love it. I don't have anything else to add. At 47 is the Oden's Eye Snow Dream palette, and I'm surprised by myself that I like this more than the Hey Reindeer. I'm not really sure how I said it in my review about that. Could be that I changed my mind just because I of course used them a bit more off camera without telling or showing, and I kind of learned that this is better. And here in this palette, I feel like it's kind of a muted best of other palettes, because I see some elements of Flora Story over here. I see some elements of, oh, where was this in? I think one of the Stone and Rocks palette, or Jewels and Jam or something. Here I see elements of Merry Christmas. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of a best of palette without duping the shades or the vibes of other palettes. I like Snow Dream more than the Hey Reindeer, but in general, even though I did rank them so high, I don't want to tell you that you have to buy them, because you clearly don't. At number 46, we have one of the quins from last year, and this was actually the moment that Pat McGrath introduced us to these, and this is the Bronze Bliss. Oh boy, this in the middle broke the internet. Such a stunning shade. It's a beautiful quint. I love the fact that you have a black in here, just the black. You don't need anything else. Beautiful, very smoky looks, but you can also build up the black. That means if you go in with a very fluffy brush, you can do a thin layer of black just to deepen some creases. And if you want to have something else, just take your bronzer or another palette that you probably own. At number 45, and when I bought this palette, I did not expect to fall in love with it that much that it is in my top 50. You know, it might not sound high, but when you have over 160 palette, I mean, I did not include a lot, you saw it in part 1, top 50 it is a thing. But the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette really did it. I think, is this the highest ranked neutral that I own? I'm not sure. I really don't know, but everything in here just makes sense to me. This is a beautiful Natasha Denona palette. I don't think this is my favorite Natasha Denona. I have to do an updated ranking next year, but I love it. For a neutral palette, this girl? Yes. You get a fist bite recommendation in this show. If you've been here for longer, you know what the influence of fist bite is. Write it down in the comments if you remember. We haven't done this in a while, but this is beautiful. Nothing else to say about this. Beautiful. Number 44 is the second Oden's Eye Halloween palette, and this is the Little Ghost palette. And you probably see already why I like this more than the Trick or Treat. The blues, the reds, the purples, the vibe, everything is here. Stunning palette. If you were to choose if you want to buy this one or the Trick or Treat, go for this one. When I tried this next palette for the very first time in the beginning of 2023, I hated it and decluttered it. I was lucky enough to have a beautiful friend who ordered some of palettes, or like some of these brands palettes, and appeared to not like them, so she sent me hers. This is Mothership 3. And as I said, the first time I tried this in the beginning of 2023, where I bought it with my own money, I hated it. I got this now sent by one beautiful friend who she just doesn't like it. And when I used this, I was like, why didn't I love this? What the fuck? Let's be honest, the two mattes in here, not worth talking about. They are really not good, but everything else is such a banger in this palette. What a beautiful color story. Highly recommend checking out Mothership 3. At number 42 we have another Viseart palette, and this is one of the petite palettes. That means they have 0.5, I think. No, 1 gram of product is in here. 0.5 would be very, very small. And this is the Koi palette. This has a shimmer only, and this is like the first version of the Koish. You know, Koish has duochromes, and this has only classic metallics. Beautiful formulation. Don't expect them to be like punchy, whatever. They're thin metallics. Number 41 is the Tom Ford Cherry Smoke Quad. Do I have to say anything why this is my highest ranked Tom Ford quad? I don't think so. Beautiful, love this. It's dark, it's smoky, it's vampy. All of my Rabanne eyeshadows are done already besides one. And this duo really made it to the top 50. No, better, it made it to the top 40. I just had to double check on my list. This is the Back to Black duo. Why do I love it so much? I have no clue. This is the blackest black that I have ever seen. This is borderline a cream shadow, even though this is not a cream shadow. And this with the silver particles, this is everything you need for a smoky eye. Don't come with grace and blending. Nobody needs that. This, buy this duo, 26 euro. This is your smoky eye on the go. Number 39 is the Natasha Denona Mini Retro. I think this is the best mini color story that Natasha Denona has ever done. Quality-wise, I only tried this and the Starlet, so I cannot talk about any like differences between this and other minis, but I think color story-wise, from looking at swatches and pictures, this is the best. This is a beautiful muted pink green color story, and you can do a look by using every single thing in here, or you use a look only by using 2 shades. Just stunning, works every single time. We finally now come to palettes that you have me heard talking about a couple times. So at number 38 we have the Izamaya Industrial 1 palette. This is the first eyeshadow palette Izamaya Beauty ever came out with, and this is a very dark, smoky palette. The worst thing about this palette are actually this and this. These 2 matte shades are putty shades. They are supposed to be cream bases. They're awful. Cross them out. I actually think of scraping them out of this so that I can use this palette again, because I don't reach for it because of these 2 shades. I don't know why I'm that dumb, because nobody forces me to use them. Why am I like that? Beautiful, so stunning. I love the formula on Izamaya Beauty, but you can kind of feel that this was her first attempt and that it gets better with every palette. Number 37 is the Man Eater After Dark palette. Look at this color story. This is a warm fall deliciousness. So much better than the other one that came out this year. With this palette, they really nailed it. Everything just works in here perfectly fine. As I said, it gets better with every palette. So at this place, we have the Izamaya Beauty Wild Horse palette. And this was the first time that the brand introduced us to her matte formula. And I have to admit, this is a really good matte formula. I love the palette and its pops. What I absolutely hate, and this does not only count for the Wild Horse, this is also for Industrial 1 and 2, the packaging. It's stunning to look at, but how the fuck do you store a round palette? It drives me insane because it has to sit on a special in a special place. These shades here are duochrome. This is a transparent, like a chromy, shifty shade, and the others are classic metallics. Number 35 is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Rose Metals palette. Should I say anything? I don't think so. Beautiful, stunning, love the formulation. I think the mattes in here are extraordinary buttery, extraordinary easy to blend, and together with these beautiful, rich shimmers and metallics, stunning. They're borderline like liquid metals. Number 34 and 33 are again palettes that could change the places depending on the mood. As of today, number 33 is my, this way around, the Viseart Grande Pro 1X. This is an all matte eyeshadow palette, and this is the one that I use the most as my companion palette. This I bought specifically as companion palette. Same as with 33. This is the Viseart Petite Kohl Mattes, because this just has something that I'm missing in the Grande Pro. That's why I love them both. I'm not really sure if it's really like 34 and 33, or if this is 34 and the other 33. It depends on the day. For now, let's say this is 33 and Grande Pro 1X is 34. And I have raved about the Viseart quality now so many times in the ranking that you don't have to hear this again. Number 32 is a palette a lot of people did not really like. I really love it, and this is the Retro Glam palette. I absolutely enjoy this color story. The muted but not muddy greens are what catched me, together with these pinks. Stunning. I love it. To be honest, mid-year I would have ranked the like mini retro higher than the Retro Glam, but I kind of changed my mind the more I just used this. I think this is the better version, and I think I'm very alone with this. Number 31 is the second Glam Light palette that I own, and this is the Ghost Facelifts palette. I know this got so much critique, but I like it. I hope the camera can pick this up, how this and this are shifting, because Sharpest Knife here shifts from a, yeah, kind of a bluish silver to a purple, while Mirror Gleam shifts from silver to green. Love this. I love the combo of these grays that have a very intense blue tone to them, together with the shifty shadows and like Vengeful Spirit. It's just your classic gunmetal shade. I think the looks that you can create with this are beautiful, but I also like black, gray, cool tone color stories. And the first palette of our top 30, and this was hard to put at number 30 because I wanted to put this higher, but I just can't because of the other palettes. The Bella Beauté Bar Smoky Glam palette. Oh my god, this is my first ride with Bella Beauté Bar. This is a purple dream. This is such a stunning palette. I know some people do criticize the fact that this is a 30 pan palette and some of these shades are redundant. Yes, I agree on that. But on the other side, I love big palettes, you know, I just love to choose between those shades, and it does not matter how you combine these shades, because some of them are quite close to each other, you never fail. Your look will always turn out beautiful. Number 29 is the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. Such a stunner. I mean, this really won the hearts of everybody. This is a beautiful palette. I really wish that she does more duochromes like this, because the quality is outstandingly good for like mainstream branding. No? You always cannot compare this to indie brands like Cleonad. I love to compare with Cleona because they're like the kings and queens of anything duochrome. But overall, this is a nice dark color story. Totally up my vibe. Number 28 is the Be Perfect Carnival 5. This is the Interstellar palette, and this is space inspired. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I fell head over heels for this palette. This has two pressed glitters, Milky Way and Orbit, and these are my both most used shades in this palette because I cannot do a look without these. Oh no, Moonwalk is also one. Okay, Moonwalk 2. Or maybe also Reptilian. Oh, they have pretty dents in them. Do you see? Do you see this? This is the best take on a rainbow palette ever, because you have kind of the rainbow, but you have this gray area to mute it, to tone it down. I love the formulation of the Be Perfect palettes as long as they are in collaboration with Stacey Marie, which are the Carnival palettes. The regular Be Perfect is bullshit. At number 7, I think this is the last Beauty Bay palette that I have in this ranking, and this is the Rich palette. This came out for fall this year. No, it's not the last Beauty Bay palette, but it's the last big one. Fall this year, such an amazing color story. Everything is just warm and cozy and fire-ish. I love it. It warms me. Like, just looking at this warms my heart. Number 26 is the new Gloss Gods Cosmetics, or like revamped Girl on Mars palette. I just very recently used this and posted swatches of this here on YouTube too. This is a stunning, warm, all metallic palette. I am a big fan of the different textures in these. I am a big fan of the shifts here in the shadow. I love Gloss Gods. It's such a good brand. And I'm not saying this because I'm affiliated now with them. If I wouldn't love them, I wouldn't be affiliated with them. Let's just say that. On number 25, we have another Gloss Gods Cosmetics palette. And this is really hard to say Gloss Gods Cosmetics because I always tend to say Gloss Gods Cosmetics. And Kotz is, like Kotzen is the German word for throwing up, which is definitely not what I want to do. But the Color of the Rain made it to 25. When I look at this, I get instantly happy. Look at this palette. I am not sure if you can still get this. I'm not sure if this was really limited edition. They restocked this palette a couple times now, and if it's sold out, I really hope they do again. This is one of the best palettes in this shimmer vibe, like pre-made shimmer palettes that I have ever seen. Everything just looks stunning. And the fact that you have this black in here is just so clever. But it's not my favorite. There is a new one in town. A new girl is in town that is better than this. But first of all, number 24, this OG palette. This is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. Still to this day, my favorite Huda Beauty palette. Still to this day, in my top 25. This is such a stunning palette. Everything just works in here. Everything works together. And as I just said in the ranking a couple numbers ago, Huda Beauty has a talent for this type of color story, for this type of shadows. They do them extra fine. Number 23 is the Lisa Eldridge Myth palette. She restocked this palette this year, and as soon as it went online, I went online and bought it because I was so angry that I did not grab this palette when it first launched. Beautiful. Stunning. I said it already, I love purple eyeshadows on my eye, and Lisa Eldridge eyeshadow formulation is to fucking die for. Myth, such a great one. The other two that I own from Lisa Eldridge are, they are not better, I just like them more. That's a major difference. And this is the new girl, the new one that kicked the Color of Rain from its throne of being my favorite Gloss Gods palette. The new Girl on Jupiter palette is it. Stunning, isn't it? Cool toned, beautiful, sparkly, shimmer. And this Orion Octavia shade is the first holo shade that I have seen holoing without a flashlight or a low light situation. So beautiful. I was already asked here on Instagram on my, I think it was the swatches, or the tutorial, no, the swatches, if I can do looks with this palette here for YouTube, and I surely will. If you want to buy one palette from Gloss Gods, the Girl on Jupiter, do this one. And use my code, Ella Kinkley. Saves you 5% at the moment. Could also get up to 10, but currently it's 5. Number 21, Lisa Eldridge, the Vega palette. One of the few palettes where I have pan in, and I want to mention that this is a massive pan. To be honest, I see myself using up this French gray shade here on top. This is the perfect transition shade for everything. Even when I do a warm look, I can use this as a transition shade. Beautiful. But in general, everything in this palette is just super stunning. I think Lisa Eldridge just created a formula of eyeshadows that is unbeaten. Is this the best formula ever? It could be. It probably depends on what kind of like journey she is for 2024. I hope we see more eyeshadow. Top 20, guys. Natasha Denona Xenon palette. I know. Who would have thought? I love this palette. I love this palette so much. I roasted this release so bad in my video about this when there was a leak. I was so anti-Xenon, and now I am here to eat my fucking words. And they taste like shit because I was talking shit. Love this palette. I just love this color story. If you have a neutral undertone, maybe like me, I'm neutral leaning, slightly warm, but I don't have a warm undertone, you will love this. On me, this palette mostly turns dark gray blue. So you see a blue vibe going on. And I really enjoy this because this is a blue vibe that is not punching you. This is a grown-up blue. Love this. I know that in some reviews it was, oh, this is 15 Shades of Grey. This is so redundant. Yes, in some cases it is redundant. But I think overall it's a cohesive palette. And while when I bought this, I thought, okay, let's just use this as a darkening companion palette. I don't think this is a companion palette. To me, this is a full-grown standalone palette for good looks. At number 19, we have the sadly now forever sold out Odin's Eye Merry Christmas palette. You're probably now like, why the fuck didn't you rank this higher? And, you know, although I like the color story, I really do, I have just 18 better palettes than this. Do you know what I mean? In this phase of the ranking now, where we are talking about top 20, top 15, top 10, we're talking about, you know, this much of a difference between them. It's not much. This is a beautiful color story, very nice. It is the definition of a Christmas palette. That's what I want to say about this. At number 18, we have a palette from a brand that I kind of avoided because I thought it's just the packaging that sucks you in. Oh no, it's also the quality now. The Flower Nose Black Swan palette is so good that I went back to Yes Style and bought more of those. Even though a lot of them are neutral, I'm really curious how they perform. But when we just look at this palette, this could also be called the Ella Kinkley palette, to be honest, because this is the fucking banger. Everything just makes sense in this palette. The like compilation of mattes in the center makes sense. These two shades, outstanding. When I did my look with this, I probably shed a tear or two when I applied this shade. Absolutely beautiful. I cannot praise this palette enough. Number 17 is the What's Up Beauty Dragon Eye palette. And when I saw this the first time, I was like, what the fuck is this? Then I saw swatch it and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I used it and I was like, oh boy, the fuck it is. It's a pretty palette. It is deep, it's sultry, it's smoky, it's intense, and this is the dragon palette. The only thing that kind of shows the dragon, if you know what I mean, are of course the shimmers. What else did people expect? Because I saw in some reviews how people were very, very disappointed in the mattes because they do not look like a dragon. If you want to have clown makeup, that's fine. I think this like mix out of very, very neutral, kind of cool toned, kind of warm toned leaning mattes is perfect to pair with these beautiful loud metallics. At number 16, we have, in my opinion, the best Anastasia Beverly Hills since they rebranded their eyeshadows, and this is Cosmos. I have done so many looks with this palette throughout the year when this released. I have released so many videos with this palette on Instagram because I just love it so much. Beautiful mix out of mattes and shimmers. This Super Cluster shade, absolutely stunning. The shade Supernova, oh, this had my heart. Absolutely beautiful, and I cannot say enough good things about this. I know this is not everybody's favorite. I know people think this is like a lame take on the multichromes. I don't think this is a take on multichromes. I think this is just a different take on the Cosmos vibe. And that's just it. Please do not interpret more than it is.
I just realized I accidentally ranked one palette twice. On number 15 now, there was also the Viseart Cashmere palette. There is no fucking way I am going to refilm 2.5 hours of footage. So you know what? You have to live with the fact now that we will jump from number 16 to number 14. I hope we can all agree on this. Mistakes happen. I'm not refilming this now.
So number 14 is a Maya Industrial 2. Out of all of the Isamaya palettes, this is my favorite one. This is so beautiful. And I know this is meant to be a lighter version, a summery version of Industrial One. To me, this is a winter vibe palette. This is a frosty snow globe. This is a frozen lake. This is sparkling fires in the cold. Everything I love, everything I want. Beautiful. I love this. Highly recommend checking out Isamaya Beauty. I love her. I love the person Isamaya. Number 13 is the Nomad Cosmetics Gold and Grit palette. Again, they reformulated their metals, like their shimmer shades, and they are nowhere near the quality of Santa's Village or the Verona one. This is a beautiful cool tone palette that just makes sense. Brown, muted blue, muted green. But you could also mix and match throughout. Love this. Absolutely outstandingly beautiful palette. I'm very happy that I have it. And look at this outside packaging. So pretty. At number 12, we have the Cosmic Brushes Gothic palette. I was unsure if I really want to have this palette because I do have Lisa Eldridge Myth. But this is Myth on crack. Myth gives you nice purple, deep, intense looks, but in the Lisa Eldridge sophisticated way. While Gothic gives you purple, beautiful, deep, intense looks, but in the way of I am the queen of Gothicness, so shut the fuck up, you little peasant. Absolutely impressive palette, impressive quality. I think it was a really good choice of me to buy this one too, because even though they are quite similar in tone and even in swatches, I can achieve very different looks with Myth and very different looks with Gothic. Talking about Lisa Eldridge, my number 11 is the third palette that I own from the brand, and it's Sorcery. I don't know, is it in stock at this moment? Is it? If not, go. Put your name on the newsletter. You need this palette. I barely say this about palettes. They are absolutely stunning. This is just such a different take on this metal vibe that I like. And this is also a Christmas palette a bit. I talked about this in my Christmas palettes. Beautiful, love that, quality, 10 out of 10. And our top 10 will start with Natasha Denona Retro Palette. Such a beautiful palette. Somebody in the Instagram story where I asked what your predictions are for my top favorite palettes said it might be Natasha Denona Retro. Close, it's just number 10. This is a cohesive monochromatic palette. Do you need this when you also have the My Dream? Probably not, because they both go in a very, very violet-y direction. That's what I wanted to say. But I think for myself, they're like different enough to keep them both. Number 9 is the Own's Eye Jewels and Gem. And I said it in my initial review of this palette already that I like this just more than the Stone and Rock. I love this muted jewel vibe. I love this muted purple. I love the shifty shades, the topper shades, the metallic intense shades. Look at Rhapsody. This is a translucent, beautiful, wet looking shade. Absolutely stunning. The looks that you can create with this range from muted purple to neutrals with a pop of blue and purple in them. So you can stay in the neutrals if you maybe use just Ecstasy, then Seventh Heaven, and maybe a bit of Sizzle or Heaven. You're still on neutral, but you're also not. Do you know what I mean? Brilliant, brilliant palette. Number 8 is an Unearthly Cosmetics palette, and this is the Leather and Lace. If you don't like dizzy images, you might not like looking at this. To be honest, I feel very uncomfortable looking at this, but I try to look past that because of this beautiful color story. It's not only the color story, because especially this type of color I did criticize in other palettes that we talked about earlier. It is the mix with the black, for example, because the black can change a lot. And it's the mix with the beautiful selection of very cohesive shimmers in here. Unearthly, definitely here more on the matte heavy side. absolutely stunning. The middle row with the warm browns is a tiny bit redundant, but when you mix and match them, not row by row, but just across the palette, it kind of also makes sense again. And the quality is from Unearthly Cosmetics, from what I have tried so far, and this one the best. Number 7 is the Adapt Cosmetics Seahorse. This is an all pastel shimmer multi-chrome heaven. I absolutely adore this palette. This is so pretty. If I could, would slap this on my face every single day. It's so stunning. Some of these are redundant, yes, but they shift different. Maybe this is just me trying to justify why I love this palette so much, but sometimes you cannot name it. You cannot say the exact reason. Sometimes it's just the feeling that I have when I look at the palette. And when I sit here and look at this palette, I'm happy. I'm happy. The world makes sense all of a sudden. If you counted with me, you might thinking now, wait, there is a Pat McGrath Mothership missing. Mothership 6 is also my 6th favorite palette in my whole collection. This motherfucking palette. I cannot tell you what exactly it is that draws me so into this, but it's here. It's there. It is. It could be the fact that the Astral Solstice shade is here. It could be the fact that this copper shade is here, which is called Blood Moon 005. It could be the fact that the mattes are turning into something better than we have experienced in Mothership 1, 2, and 3. It could be all of that. It's beautiful, it is stunning, it is my favorite Mothership. It is. And the most luxury thing is this. I haven't fixed it yet. Please applaud now for the top 5. I can't believe I'm here. And if you have been following me on Instagram for a longer time, if you are here on YouTube since the beginning, you probably have a vague guess on what my top 5 is. Number 5, drum roll please, Danessa Myricks Lightwork 5. That was not intended. Mothership 6 is the 6th and Lightwork 5 is the 5th. That was not intended, I promise. How should I have ranked this lower? I can't, because I love everything about this palette. I love the split pans, I love the finishes, I love the textures. I don't love the price so much because it's really, really pricey. Ranking this only at number 5 was hard because I wanted to put it much higher. Let's just say that in the top 5, besides number 1, they all can rank also in the 3 or in the 2 or in the 4 or in the 5, like I did with Lightwork 5. Number 4 is the last Beauty Bay palette now. This is the Metamorphic palette. Oh boy, how I gasped when I saw the images of this. I even, in my calendar, did a notification with the time when to order this. And then everything went wrong with the first order. I had to reorder, I had to fight for my refund, but it was worth it as soon as I got this palette. This is a beautiful, wintry, cool-toned, purple, lilac, dream of matte and shimmers. Stunning. Beautiful. And to be honest, the formula in this is very, very different from the big ones or from the Dark Fantasy or the Retro Love. If this in here is the new formulation that Beauty Bay from now on will have in the other palettes, I predict you we have great things to come. Again, if you have been here for longer, if you follow me for longer, you know what's missing. You know what I'm going to mention. Pause the video, put it down in the comments below if you're right. Do it. Just take your guess. I'm sorry, by the way, for the barking. It's so annoying, but it's so warm in here. I have to just open the window. Number 3 is the Blend Bunny Trove Quad. I cannot stress enough how awesome this is. Can you see the shifts? I kind of try to just rotate it a bit so you can see it properly. First of all, I think it was a good move of Blend Bunny to test the multi-chrome formulation that they were working on in a quad, because she said that if she would put these multi-chromes in her regular palettes, they would raise up in price, which makes sense because chrome pigments are expensive, more expensive than regular metallic pigments. And I was so close on not buying this because I think I paid $70 for this here in Germany. It was worth every single penny. This is quality-wise on the same level as Cleonate. All I have to say about this. I gave myself a very hard time deciding which one of these palettes I will put in the second and which one in the first place. It took multiple looks, it took swatches, it took comparison, it took everything. But I decided, and I am happy with my decision. I'm very happy with my decision. Number 2, and for the longest time this was my most favorite palette in my collection, is the Odin's Eye Christmas Eve palette. This has a blue color story with pops of yellow, or like one yellow matte, and then the golden kind of go through. This is the perfect Christmas winter night palette. This is not so much Christmas, but Christmas winter night. I love the dark tones, I love the muted vibe, I love the quality. This is the best palette Odin's Eye ever came out with. Unfortunately, this is now forever sold out. So that means, you know, I was against their re-releasing the shit, and I still stand by that, and I still think they just did it because they knew that their new collection is not half as successful as this one. But they stated on their Instagram that they are not able to restock this. Probably for the sources, maybe they changed the factory, whatever, I don't know. And then there was another motherfucker in town that when I saw this palette, I was okay by this. And then I hoped so bad because I know that in the past they had shipping issues, and I was like, okay, please, 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 please come to my house before, like way before I film my rankings, so that I can do multiple looks with this in comparison with the Odin's Eye Christmas Eve, that I can see, is it true? Is it really the best one or not? You know what? We will end the video here. Thank you for watching, and you will see the number 1 tomorrow in this look. Just kidding. Cosmic Brushes Winter Wonderland. I have no words. I said it already. I do rank my palettes and I rate my palettes in terms of quality, personal excitement, and color story. They all are rated between 0 and 10, and in the end you have like the number, you know, the math. This palette scored a 10 out of 10, a real 10 out of 10. Quality, 10 out of 10. Color story, 10 out of 10. Personal excitement, I would love to say 11 out of 10, but it's 10 out of 10. This has a perfect rating in every category. I don't want to put this down. I really don't. And this look that I did, that I wear today, I did with this palette, and you will see the tutorial tomorrow, because tomorrow on December 24th, I will upload a tutorial, or like a get ready with me video, only using the products that throughout the December I all ranked on number 1. Was that sentence correct? I filmed for nearly 3 hours now. 4, 5 if we take the other videos too. I am very, very curious what is coming in 2024. I am really curious about the releases. I am more so curious on how maybe my taste will change in 2024, and I promise you I will revisit this ranking. Maybe not in this way. I probably, if I do a ranking next year, which I will not rank all my palettes again. I will probably just rank the ones that I tried in 2024, and maybe compare them against, for example, the top 5 of this ranking. Something like that. I mean, we have a year time now, so I can think of new ideas. Maybe I'm not even doing YouTube in a year anymore. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows what time will bring? Thank you so much for going with me through this video. Let me please know what was your number 1 palette in 2023, and more so, why? because maybe there's a palette that I haven't tried this year. So maybe I can put this on my wish list for after the no-buy. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for ignoring my little counting mistake. Mistakes happen, it's okay. Ellamas is still going strong. You still get videos until December 31st, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow where we create this look.